Aloha everyone and welcome to our presentation on our advanced CSS. Our group consists of myself, Boy, Ashley, and Andrew. Today we'll be presenting more specifically on how to create a drop-down menu. For some examples, for some features that we want to add to our website design, we just want to look at, first of all, some types of font options that we want to look at. As you can see, you have these different types of fonts besides your basic chef's fonts and fonts that you'll basically see when you're putting together coding. These kinds of fonts can be downloaded from the web and actually added to, and you can capture the coding for those particular fonts and add that to your CSS coding in your in your web design. We also want to look into multiple backgrounds, and basically what multiple backgrounds is, as you can see here as an example, is layers of different backgrounds on top of each other or different pictures. As you can see in this example, we have the blue background screen with the palm trees. That will be one layer, and you will layer that with this particular square object or square section here. Another design, as well as content. As you can see, official drink of paradise will be another layer, and all of these particular layers will allow you to create multiple backgrounds upon each other. So these are some of the things that we want to look at for multiple backgrounds. For the sake of this presentation, we're going to be styling our drop-down menu. So as you can see here on this particular website, when you click on the top screen, you see how there's a drop-down menu here. So what we'll be doing is teaching you how to create or how to style this particular section or drop-down menus. So going to our thimble that we're going to use to create our menu design. We're just going to start with some HTML basics here. I'm not going to be typing everything out for the sake of time. So what we're going to be doing is that we need just to ensure that we set everything up for success, that we have to create our div tabs. And so here we have our div class for our drop-down menu, and you're going to see our button here that we're creating. So we have a button that we're going to create, and that button is right here in this section, and we want to name that button, or you can just say drop down, but for the sake of this presentation, we're naming our button Olelo Hawaii. So we wrote that in, and we put that in with our button, and you can see Olelo Hawaii here. We also want to create another div class for our drop down content, and these are all the things that's going to be in the drop down menu. So here you can see on the right hand side, we have Vehe Vehe, Ulukau, Google Translate, and within that we're creating a Ahref coding here. So you can see what we're doing is that we're inputting the actual website that we want to direct you to, and to ensure that we're not going to be taken off of this page, and when we click on each section, it's going to take us to a different page. We also created another coding for that section, so that you can see here target equals blank, and so when you click on each section, it'll take you to a different page and not directly off of this. And following that, as you can see, is the title for each section. So even if you have the web page, you can always title this whatever you choose for these particular sections. So with that said, that's just your basic HTML, and now we're going to move on to our actual styling for our project for the drop-down menu, and we're going to now transition over to Andrew to take us through our first steps.
Aloha, everyone. So as Boy expertly explained with the HTML, the reason why we set up these classes is we are going to be styling this button and these links within using the advanced CSS that we've learned for this video. And what we're going to do right now is just to kind of show you a before and after. We have this right now. So what we want to do is the section I'm going to take you through will show you how the button will be styled differently based on the CSS we put in. So for the sake of time, we've written out the code beforehand, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it in and describe each class section and how we use CSS to style these features. So if you look at this now, and let's go ahead and refresh this so we can. You see that kind of before we had this option in here with just the links, and then the button was very small, the text was very small itself. So by using advanced CSS, you could actually go in and then look at this. So let's look at each section right now. The first thing we started to do with was the drop-down class. And in order to style that actual position of the button itself, what we did is we set this up with a position relative, meaning that this div is, or this box is going to be in the upper left-hand corner and positioned so that the links will show up underneath that, but the button also shows up in this upper left-hand corner as well. And in order to get those links to show up underneath in a kind of straight line, we have it as a display or an inline block, so that text will show up right there, just as it does on this screen. So if you notice, if we take this out, then refresh it, we don't have quite the same positioning here. Let's put it back in, and we should see a difference at this point. Okay. So to the drop button feature, what we can do here is, right now, before, again, we saw that the button was kind of very narrow and that the links were underneath it. So what we did is we made sure that our background color we set up turned into a dark green. We also made sure that our color for the text was for the blanched almond right here. Defined our font a little bit more, doing a serif font, gave it a size of 24 pixels for the font size. And for the padding itself, made sure that we had a little bit of padding around that text. And you'll see that reflected here with our title of the button being a little bit more centered in there. Made sure to give it a border radius so we have more rounded corners, which you can see in the button. And then also, as the cursor goes over here, it becomes a pointer, which we indicated in this button right here. So if I were to take this out, for instance, and do a refresh, you see the button goes back to the size. So by including that CSS section in for this class that I just described, you'll see it enhances the features and the styles of that button right there. And you see that it just comes with all the font, the padding, and the cursor that we talked about. So finally, for the drop-down content, what we wanted to do here is set this up so that when the content appears, which is going to be the links, which Ashley is actually going to talk more in detail about how you can style links. We made sure that right now, by going over here, you're not going to see any of those options yet, because we need to style that for when the hover app occurs with your cursor. You'll see those links show up right down here. So we'll leave that as display none for now. And that will show up later as Ashley styles the actual links with the Ahrefs. We gave it a position of absolute just to make sure it lines up within that, or inherits the properties from that first div, and make sure that it's absolute at this point. We gave it a background color of Burleywood, which you'll see show up again with the Ahrefs. And width, we also kind of gave that a width to make sure those links show up there, and the box shadow to make sure that it gives it a kind of a car look when it shows up there. So right now, you're not going to be able to see any of that content until we style the actual links, which segues nicely to Ashley's expert explanation of how you can style the links in the system itself. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Ashley to explain.
Hi, everyone. So Andrew's put it in a really good spot. If you notice, our button is styled. We have background color, we have font color, we have a different kind of font. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to paste in the code to make everything work. It's this last bit. Here we go. So when I actually put in the code, sorry, my computer lagged, so I need to kind of hit the preview a couple times. All right, so there we go. So I hover over, and now I have all of my Ahrefs that are there. They change background color when I hover over them. The button itself changes background color. So I'm going to show you how all of that works. So the first thing we're going to look at is this drop-down content A. So drop-down content A actually does the references the Ahrefs from the HTML, which are these pieces right here that have links to them. So all of this means the links are black, and if I put them away or take it away, you can actually see a couple previews later that it takes away the box look and everything in line. It takes away the black. It takes away the text decoration. So if I put it back, you'll see that everything just looks nice and neat. It's not underlined anymore. It's black. Yeah, it's displayed in a block, so it's just a very nice, neat way to organize everything. So the next piece is this drop down content A hover. So again, the A is referencing that list that is in the drop down menu. The background color is just corn silk. So basically that lighter tannish color is corn silk. So this piece of the puzzle or this piece of the CSS actually changes the color when I hover over it. So to kind of show you the difference, I'm going to take it out real quick, redo my preview. And this will actually take away the different color that you get when you hover over it. So we'll put that back. So this next piece is the drop-down hover, drop-down content display block. So basically all this does is it actually, if you remember, we have this display none that Andrew put in, which means that the display, the list is not actually going to show unless you tell it to show with a hover. And so if I take this out, it's going to go back to being hidden at all times, which we don't necessarily want. We want it to show. So see, I can hover over it and it doesn't show because I'm telling it's not being told to show yet. So with this drop down hover, drop down content display block, it's not only going to hover, but it's going to hover in this block and it's going to show up in block. And then last is the drop down button, where actually it just changes the background color. Same concept. When you hover over it, the button, it turns to an olive green. And that is it for our CSS. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night.